No, we're still a little bit above our budget as far as cash coming in, which is a good story, and everybody's done a terrific We have a lot of important stuff to talk about tonight. Okay. Ready?
It's broadcasting, so we can start.
Okay.
I guess we'll wait for Councilman Walsh.
Well, he suggested we start without him. On this very snowy evening, we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order and salute the flag. Thank you. Join me in saluting.
Over there.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Thank you. All right, we are going to have our meeting tonight regularly scheduled for November 15th, even though there's a big snowstorm railing outside. It's important that everybody know that we're having the meeting because we're under a deadline. Thank you, John. We're under a deadline. We have to go through the budget and then vote on it, and we have to turn it in, certify it, and turn it in. And this is our night to do that because of the deadline. So
and
I'm
the
going
schedule.
And the schedule, yeah, the state's schedule. I'm going to go ahead and walk us through. We're not going to do a projection, obviously, because nobody's here except for a few of us. And, yep, some department heads, one department head specifically, and town board members and our town clerk, Andrea Casey. So we're going to proceed through, and as people are able to arrive from the drive, then they will get here. So as you guys as everybody may know, the preliminary budget is on the town website. And in addition to being on the town website, it was sent out in Unionvale mail. So everybody should have had it for a long time now. And this will be, tonight is our fourth public hearing. If you happen to think of a question that you want while we're talking about the budget, you can go ahead and call a cell phone. Why don't you call 917-539-1660, and if I happen to get a call during the meeting, I will, for those of you who are watching it live, and if you have a question, we're happy to answer it. I'd like to answer it. Otherwise, you can email them tomorrow, or call Town Hall, and we'll answer any questions that you might have. But first of all, I wanted to go through the highlights of the budget are included in the budget notes. And what we wanted to make sure that everybody understands is that the tax cap is not going to be exceeded this year, but the total levy will increase by $73,712. So as written in on page 1, the homeowners, this equates to homeowners with a house assessed at $300,000 who paid $930 in town taxes in 18 will pay $954 in town taxes in 2019. So it's not a big increase, but it is an increase in the actual assessment for each house. We had a few things that came up this year we want to make sure everybody's aware of. First of all, as is normal, our health insurance premiums went up, increased again. This year they went up 12.5%, and our workers' compensation insurance went up 215%. Good evening, Dave. Councilman McMorris. We are filming, and we are going through the budget so that people can hear it online later, and then we will answer any questions people may have after the fact. But we're just going to go through the budget presentation as if everybody were here. Okay?
If anybody's watching locally, I strongly suggest you do not come. The roads have not been plowed.
Anywhere.
No.
Anywhere.
Yep.
Well, the county roads have been touched.
Well, the state, 55.
And 55 have been touched, but
That's how I got
They're
it.
backed up in Poughkeepsie. Our attorney, Jeffrey Battistoni, isn't going to be able to make it. We told him to head home. He's been on the road for an hour now. So,
yeah.
thank you for that warning.
It started at 4:30 over by my house, and there's at least 2 inches of snow, so you figure we're getting better than...
I had 4 inches.
4 inches, rather.
At my house.
Yeah.
So you figure we're getting better than 2 inches an hour.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Wow. All right, well, let's get through this. Let's get through the budget, because we will ultimately have to vote on it. And then you had one in your mailbox. Did you go to your mailbox?
I didn't get
Okay.
go to the-
Feel free to go get it. There's
But
the
it's that
agenda.
one.
Right.
This is basically the same, yeah.
All right, so our health insurance premiums went up 12.5%. Our workers' compensation insurance went up 215%, which was a little better than the earlier quote we've been given. So those are examples of some things that got a little out of whack this year, or for 2019. But our main focus this year was to realign our departments or our businesses or any department that produced revenue so that they would no longer lose money and that people could see their numbers and understand if they were a revenue producing department, they could understand what their revenues were versus their expenditures, which is always important. So that's what we did most of this year. We did not cut any services, nothing was diminished, but all departments and employees were cautious spenders. And I will add that I think everybody did a really fantastic job being cautious this year. Our over-reliance on professional services was curtailed to save on expenditures. Those professional services, involve things like legal, engineering, other professionals that we might have used before that were on somebody's speed dial. Now people, we just changed the process for getting in touch with them, and I think it looks very good on our P&L. Local law that the town board instituted in the spring allows the zoning board of appeals to collect escrow money, where in the past they had always just paid out for consultants that came to give them aid, and because it wasn't in our town code. So that also helped us to collect money from applicants to actually pay for the consultants that were dealing with their case, and that's the fair way to do it because we didn't want the taxpayers to actually bear that burden. So that was taken care of, and I think that's helped us. It definitely has helped us. Given the 2.4, 2 to 2, depending on which labor statistic you look at, there's the rate of inflation is going up between 2.2 and 2.4%. We have in the budget a 3% increase for employees, for everybody, all employees, in addition to several greater increases for merit and longevity. And I think it's the time to do it because the economy is stronger, inflation is going up, so their purchasing power is diminishing even if the economy is getting stronger, and we don't know what's going to happen in the future, so we want to do it in a year when we actually are able to do it. The town board is working on a 5-year capital projects plan and multi-year financial plan, so much needed maintenance and purchases can be scheduled. Now, we've completed a multi-year financial plan, and we got to match that up with the top 5 infrastructure projects that we picked in our work session, and then we're gonna lay out how we're gonna pay for all that. But we're still working on a few important projects right now. We want to get those completed, and then we're going to turn our attention to those. but we're in good shape for laying out a 5-year capital projects plan, and we've got our multi-year financial plan, so we can discuss amongst ourselves and then with the residents how all this is going to be paid for. IT contractual expenditures, aside from the new, we discussed this earlier, aside from the new Sullivan Data retainer that we agreed to pay our new IT company, the total IT contractual expenditures went down in 2019 compared to 17 and 18. But the equipment and capital outlay increased to pay for the much needed hardware, including firewall and security protection and some very, very old PCs that we need. So when we agreed to find a professional IT provider, one of the things we really wanted to do was to make sure that we followed their instructions, and they brought us up to where we needed to be for safety and for cyber attacks and all those things we've been talking about. And we've now got a plan this year and next year.
And to comply with the state audit.
And a good point, Jonathan.
Actually, to comply with federal law.
Yeah,
Yeah, but we did get dinged in that audit
Right.
for IT things, and
this
now.
is catch up, that's why.
Yeah, so we've got an
did a
additional
lot, yeah.
$38,000 in the budget for IT, for hardware, firewall, all of that. And you've seen it. Actually, I've got some sheets to give the board, which I'll give you in a second. Now, we want to make sure everybody knows that we are trying to focus on keeping our expenditures down and increasing revenue in places where it's appropriate to collect revenue. We're not aiming at charging more to our residents. What we're trying to do is figure out ways to bring in revenue to the town. And basically, the town board is working on three very important projects that we're excited about, but premature to completely discuss because we're still doing due diligence. But one is our solar development plan project, which we're going to talk about again tonight in executive session. That is designed, our intention is to bring in revenue for the town. A cell tower, we have no signed document as of yet to discuss with the public, but if that should come to pass, then that will be a nice revenue producer for the park. And then third is our rental house, which as soon as we get these other two things, then we can focus our attention on utilization of the rental house and the amount of projected rental income that we should be able to get, targeting some residents, but also, we can bring other things here that will make some money for the town. So we do have 3 good future revenue proposals out that we want to deal with. Now, I wanted to go through a few things. Do you guys mind just adding, that's for your book, there was some more detail added to those pages, so I wanted you guys, yeah, that goes in your, no,
That's these books.
into your department
Regular.
management book, yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
All right, excuse me, I just want to make sure the board has the updated list of, just it's in your notebook. Just take that home with you.
No, you just
You only
passed
gave
2
it
out.
2 out.
No, one for each of you, there's 2 sheets, one for everybody.
Oh,
Sorry.
take one of the sheets.
Take
Got it.
one and
Okay,
then pass.
So here you get one.
Thank you.
And then
I get one.
Okay.
See, we are confused.
Okay, on the summary of the preliminary town budget for 2019, thank you. You can all read for yourselves. I think it was a new way of doing it that showed you that we're going to raise $1,890,157 this year, and it'll show you how that measures up in cost per thousand. And it also shows you the fire district's number, which they submit to us, which is nice. We put it in our budget, we collect for them. The drainage, the special district totals, general and highway. It's got it all laid out on that page, and I already went through the totals, so I think that you can look up. I did want to show on the next page, which is revenue. There's only a few of these pages I think we need to go through in detail, but I think it is important to cover them. We had a few areas that were down this year. Our rental property, obviously, we're not collecting rent on it now because we have to renovate it.
Only one of them.
Only one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 1 out of 2. As everybody knows, the 2 rental houses in the park are designed to bring in revenue to the town, and one of them needs to be renovated, so that's not bringing in rent currently. Our court fines are down this year by a pretty big number, and our dog fees are down. And we know, I myself have 2 brand new puppies, so I'll have to buy a dog, I'll contribute to the dog fees. But that's not a big number for us, but it is a little lower. It's always of note to know when things are a little bit down. Summer camp went up immensely this year, if you look at your revenues, and I think they did a really good job in summer camps of not only maxing out summer camps, but they had a wait list. And we're very excited about their results, as are they, and we've got some interesting things planned for next summer that we're already working on with our group down there, which is great. Also, recycling went up, is proposed to go up next year, and it went up a little bit this year. So far, year to date, the year's not up. Summer camps are obviously over, so we have that number. But we got $76,750 more in revenue than was expected just in those two areas.
Yeah, that's great.
So it's really good. They performed well, and they should be very proud of themselves. Those were the highlights. And as I go through this, there were, I wanted to go fast forward to an expenditure summary. Just again, these are things that I think are important for us to touch on, because you can read each one of these pages yourself and see where we are. But we did overspend. Well, we did spend what was budgeted on our printing and our mailing, but it's a little bit more than we wanted, and we are analyzing that. That's on the list to make changes in for 2019, because we weren't happy with those results. The numbers went up, and so I've already started exploring new ways to reduce our printing, because we think that they're charging us too much for what we're doing. We're on that case, and we will come back to you. But what you will see in here is our attorney fees are way down, our engineering fees are way down, our town buildings, our fees for town buildings went way down, and some of that was not spending as much money, which was good. Our utilities didn't go down. So, but some of the other things, as far as maybe separating out some of our projects for future infrastructure and all that, is helping to target, but those expenditures went down. Central storeroom has gone down, but printing went up, and Dutchess County chargebacks went up just a little bit. They went from 6,000 to 7,000, or 6980. They went adopted at 6,000, and we had to put $7,000 in the budget for next year, because we think that's about what we're going to get charged. And they charge us for things like printing the tax bills and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's the biggest.
Yeah.
No.
So the other page, it's important for everybody to note, is our expenditure summary on IT, which is line 1680. And that has gone up one of the biggest numbers, and that's because of our capital expenditures. Yeah, and the playing catch up. You know, we talked to some of the other towns that are making this move that we're making now, and you know, they said it took them about 2 years to invest in. So we may see a number like this again next year. And because what I've heard from the others is it took them about 2 years to catch up, and then after that it has been just great. Smooth sailing, but everything is safe and tight, and firewalls are in place, and all of this since we need it. So we'll watch it. Maybe we'll get it next year. I mean, I don't, other than, I'm looking through to see, I mean, I don't want to go through page by page. There's nobody sitting here listening, but
I just have a question on the new pages you handed out.
yes.
Why did our contingency go up $648? It was just like weird. It was at 100,000 even, and now it's $648.
Well, because, yeah, every time we had a little bit of money left over from something else, I put it in contingency, no matter what it was.
Oh,
If
gotcha.
it was $1 over, I said, okay, put it in contingency,
I'm
because,
like, that's the oddest amount, but that makes sense.
yeah, so it ended up being strange, but I didn't want to just throw it somewhere else, and that way, well, we're going to talk about the contingency fund tonight, and I have a list to show you what we use it for, and we actually use the contingency fund. So the contingency fund, for those of you watching, we did double it this year. It was $50,000 in the budget. We did use it because we had some unbudgeted expenditures that were forced, and we used it wisely, I think.
Yep.
I'll show you the list. Well, you guys know the list because we voted on it. We had one unexpected expense at our municipal park manager, Mr. Jay Gosnell. We'll go through with this a little bit later, and that will, our recommendation is to use the final bigger bit of the contingency fund to pay for that. But so we doubled it next year because we never know what's coming, and we do have some things that are old, and we're still looking at paying for them through request for money and regular application of grants. But if the boiler drops in the middle of the time, you know, then we want to be prepared for stuff like that next year.
Sure.
So we did double the size of the contingency, plus $684. So it's 100 plus. I mean, I think the rest of it is pretty much what we've gone over in all of our meetings and talked about. I will say that we do have a schedule of salaries of elected officials. I did increase the town board without discussing it with them because I feel like every year I've heard them say, no, you can't increase the town board. I went ahead and applied the same 3% to the town board without asking them, because I know that I want them to be aware that I think they deserve the 3%. And everybody else is getting 3%, and I think that's important. I didn't put it in for the town supervisor, and some people think that the supervisor's salary should be more down the road so that it's more appealing, but I thought that we could handle that in a vote later. For example, at some point you can say the town supervisor's salary could be X because you want to attract certain people to the job. That's fine, it's fair to do, but I think the town board could handle that. So I didn't do that.
It's been artificially low for many years. It goes back to when Don Wisman was supervisor. He was collecting Social Security. He lowered it so that he only accepted as much as you were allowed to accept under Social Security.
Limit.
And subsequent to that, it was never raised more than 1 or 2% or 0 some years over the years. So as a result, you probably are the lowest paid supervisor in the county, I would think.
I think Pine Plains is lower.
Well, let me put it this way, you're probably working for $1 an hour.
Well, they're a smaller town.
You've worked more than any supervisor I've known in the 24 years I've lived here.
Oh,
like
wow.
I said, the last supervisor worked part-time.
Yeah, but we don't, the way I'm looking at it is, we had a lot of interesting things to get done this year, and we've all worked really well together getting them. We're not there yet, we're almost there. But I think that this time next year, if we still have a good year like we did this year, then that'll be something different. But you'll see towards the end of the package, if all of you watching or looking on the town budget on the website, we have the councilmen, councilwomen, their salaries are listed, town clerk, town justices, and a highway superintendent, all according to what is normal in the budgets. And you can look at those. We talked about them in our departmental meetings. I did want to point everybody to the direction of the revenue pie charts so that you could see where our revenue comes from, because it has to do, it's important because it informs our mission. For example, recreation is 35% of our revenue. And we've never, before, and I should go back and point that out, actually, that's an important thing. I'll do it at the end, I have another chart. But before, people weren't sure, I know from living here, people weren't sure what the revenue was that recreation brought in versus their expenditures, and we know that they overspent.
Previous park managers gave us numbers that we were not able to verify, but they sounded very attractive.
Right, I mean, his budget would go up every year 10 to 12%.
And there were claims
then he'd turn around and say, well, I saved you money because I didn't spend everything in the budget. Instead of reducing the budget.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. And there was claims of great revenue from the park to the town.
Well, but we had never figured in the expenses, like when we broke it down with Jessica, which was great. Like, well, what are we actually spending on this?
So this year, when we realigned the businesses starting in January and worked really hard to make that happen, we looked at the revenue differently. And the other complaint about the recreation in the department was that they're spending all this money, and it's not just residents. And so what we decided this year is to try to change that mission, the mission of recreation department. So we built the budget this year for recreation. Our recreation department now has been lowered because they dropped the expenses by $124,000 in January. So the way we have it set up this year is that our revenue from now this is a goal, these are things that we'd like to have happen. Our revenue is targeted in recreation $445,625. But our expenditures are $398,097. So for the first year, what we're doing is we're budgeting a departmental goal. Their expenditures are capped at $397,000. If you rounded that up in your mind, we have a $400,000, approximately $400,000 recreation department. And a year ago, you had a $530,000, and when you look at other towns and their recreation departments, their big towns have big budgets and smaller towns have smaller budgets, and we're considered a smaller town. Right. Because we're 4,800 people or so on. So Anyway, for us to have a 400,000, what we decided to do was, okay, so we're going to cap ourselves at around 400,000, but our mission is to try to make enough revenue, because we are servicing residents' children, but not a lot of non-residents. Actually, the majority are non-residents. So if our mission is to do a really good job and run these fabulous summer camps and everything else that we offer, and we can bring in revenue back to the town, then what we're doing is we're providing a benefit for our town by adding to our bottom line. So this year, they've got a goal of 445, so we're looking at a $50,000 revenue input into the town's bottom line from our recreation department based on curtailing expenditures and bringing in excess revenue. And they did that this year, so what they're doing next year is kind of a repeat of this year, so we feel certain it can happen. So I think that's nice, and it's nice for them to know anybody can come to our camps. Anybody should come. We should take, they do pay a little bit more if they're outside, but anybody that does come, regardless of how it is, we built ourselves in a little cushion, and I think then the residents should be happy that if recreation is 35% of the revenue, and they're a smaller percentage of the expenditures, which is on the next chart, then that's actually a really good thing. Okay? So 35% of our revenues, recreation. The next biggest biggest contributor is our sales taxes. I mean, that's really big. The money that we get from the county, and we all know that split deal is really important to us.
Sure.
So when we get it from Poughkeepsie and Beacon, all those big places, and they're doing a split, which we're just thankful that they do. And you can see on the others, we get mortgage taxes, we get a little state aid, we have a little surprise to share with everybody tonight in a few minutes, but we do have revenue primarily driven by our recreation department. So I think it's pretty impressive if their expenditures are lower than that. On the flip side, you see the expenditures. Our largest expenditure in this town is our highway department, which is the same as it is in every other town. It's 28.3. That can move up and down. So let's say it's about 30%, which is pretty normal. Our next biggest expenditure would be our recreation or other government. The cost to run the government here is 18.7%. That's all of town hall, departments, everything. So that's 18.7, and then the next biggest expenditure is recreation at 12.7. Parks, 8.5. Our library cost this year is 2.3%. Employee benefits, 12.7. Typically another pretty big number. So, but the good news is that our revenue is bigger than our expenditures. And when I looked at our year-to-date budget for the town, our income this year, we're still at 106%, so we're $229,504 over budget from all the savings that we've been working on, and also to try to put money in for our infrastructure spending. Our expenditures are down, we're still at around 83–84%, so we're below our expenditures. So I think that's really impressive for our group. I mean, this was just a high-level expenditure. Operating costs, 43%, that's all in. Personnel, service, employee benefits, all in is $1.6 million. That's 51% employee benefits and all of our personnel. As if I add it all up. Our debt service is $103,153, and that's 3%. Which I don't want to go higher than that. I mean, when you want to, 5% below is what now the state comptroller's office allows you to go much higher, which I was surprised at, but that's because towns, can tax to pay for things. But in our case, if we can keep it at 5% or lower, then we're good. Doing well. Right now we're at 3%, and what you all see in the budget is towards the last page. Oh, I don't see it in here. I'll have to get my other copy. There should be a copy of our long-term debt, which the biggest, $700,000, is our bond, which was the closing of the landfill and a truck or something that they put in there. I wasn't here when that happened, but we bonded that. So, and the final thing is a bar chart that shows you a revenue analysis. You can see that we're, and we're going to be talking about the recycling center tonight, because the recycling center is, because of all the increase in expenditures, the recycling center is one of those things that is going to have some changes made in order to stay afloat, in order to be in the black. And we'll discuss that tonight. Long-term liabilities is listed. We have a serial bond that covers the closing of the landfill years ago, and the trucks or other things that were added to it. The balance is $715,000. We have a Ford 350 for the park. We have a Ford Explorer for constable and code enforcement use. That's going to be coming off lease next year, and we'll just own it for $1. And we have a large-scale Toro mower that we bought this year, 47. So collectively, we have a total debt of $774,472. All right? Okay. Other than that, I will say that we look strong financially. We have more revenue than we do expenses, although we're in that tighter time of the year. The year's not up, and we'll give you in the January report, we'll be able to tell you what we did full year. But I think everybody pulled together this year. I'm pleased with that. The 3% increases in salary is to help compensate for that, is to kind of reward people for doing a great job. And I think we're staying right at the tax cap because I think we need to keep putting money aside for our $2 million or so infrastructure list that we have. Because we're not sure how much we're going to get grants for, what, if any, we have to bond. So we have some big things to discuss, but all in all, I think we're in solid financial shape. Okay?
Well, thanks for all your hard work staying on it.
Well, it's great. It's a pleasure. I feel like we're getting things done. And, if anybody has any questions, please email them. If the phone hasn't rung, so nobody was, that's fine. Email them or call anytime if you have any questions about the budget. I think we'll not have open and close the public hearing because nobody's here to ask questions, so we can take those at a later date, or do we open and close it and Jake might
Well, we
have
could
one?
postpone it, carry it over to the next meeting if you wanted, but if we
We
got to vote on the
can't.
budget, then we'll have to close.
can't.
All right, then we'll have to close the public hearing before we vote.
But that was the presentation. Now we're going to open a public hearing. So may I have a motion to open the public
Yeah, I'll
hearing?
make a motion, we open the public hearing on the budget.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the public hearing is now open. It's time to call. Call us.
I feel like we're like a commercial. Call
Yeah.
now.
It is.
1-800. Yeah, like a telephone.
You see the number on your screen? Please feel free to call. And if we don't get a call let's take a couple of minutes, and just in case somebody sees it and somebody calls.
Right.
I want to make sure we allow people the time.
Let me go get this stuff out of the box then.
Did you really put her number on the screen? Oh my God.
Give you a couple minutes while we get the boxes open. And we'll put on the website that long-term liability page because I didn't see it in my most recent copy, so maybe it didn't show up on the website.
Oh, let me see. I
If
put
not,
the
we can
open
always
right now.
add it to the second page.
Is it towards the end?
You have it?
Mine.
Okay. All right, well, maybe it was just mine because I've had it so many times. I'll just move. But 3% long-term debt is really not bad, although
No.
at some point we'll end up with zero because we're going to keep managing our
Good,
finances
It's a good
so that
goal.
we can,
Work it down.
work it down. All right, I don't think anybody's calling. Maybe they're watching the snow or enjoying the snow.
Well, I know my
I
kids
don't know
are
about anybody
just praying
enjoying
for a
the snow.
snow day.
I heard my puppies, or my husband said the puppies are enjoying the snow. First snow. It's like first Christmas for babies.
That's right.
All right, given that we're not getting any calls, and
I
we
make a
were,
motion we close the public hearing.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right. Public hearing is now closed. We will move on with our regular agenda for the meeting. I was going to go through, as town supervisor, let me go through some interesting correspondence that I'd like to talk to everybody about. This is a real legislative session tonight. We've got a lot of work to do, and we're going to zip through it as best we can. Now, I wanted to give this to all the town board, and this is all from the mail. I wanted you all to please, Dave, will you take one and pass this to the others? Put one in the place if you don't mind. Who will be here as soon as he can.
Oh, maybe he's plowing in off of yours.
He did have a problem with that. Will you pass that over to Steve's side, just so he'll have it? Okay, now, the first thing for your consideration is, thank you. We get from the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office every year, which Dave told me he wasn't aware of, so I wanted to make sure you all are aware of it. We get a contract that they're going to be sending me to sign. And it's a standard thing that happens every year, and the supervisor apparently just signs it and sends it in. But I wanted you to I just want to make sure you were aware of, if, we don't have to use these extra services that they offer, but if you had a big event and you wanted them to be there, or traffic control, that sort of thing, this is what the rates are, and I just wanted you to know how they billed. Fringe benefits are added in addition to the hourly rates. So it's for your consideration. If we, I'm assuming since it's a regular occurrence and we don't have any negotiation points in this, that when it
Yes.
comes, that the supervisors just signs the contract, so,
Okay.
but we can vote as to whether or not we're ever going to use the services.
Right.
So-
And if we sign the contract, it doesn't commit us to using it.
No, no,
It
no,
just
exactly.
provides it if we need
That
it.
that they have us on their database, and then when we
Never
give them a
heard
call, we're a customer, so to speak. Okay, the next mail item that I wanted to talk to you about, could you pass it? I'll leave one for Steve. The Association of Towns meeting is up on the calendar, as you all know. It's going to be in February, as usual, 17th through the 20th. This year we'll do it early, because last year I think we talked about it in early February.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest that you go on their website and start looking at the
Classes?
agenda, the classes. I really think, I'm going to urge that I'll go again, and that this year we have perhaps Jane Smith come, and maybe even our highway super, because there were some really good classes that we thought of last year, that it would have been nice if one or two of them came, even if it was just for the day, and they came down and went to the few classes and left. But take a look at it, and we'll talk about it again. We want to be on the early bird side. This, I don't know, what does it say? There's an early bird so that the fees are less?
Yeah.
All right, so we want to be in that crowd, since I think it's really important that we all keep our education up, and it helps run the town better. And it's in the budget. So I think that if you guys consider that, and we'll talk about it again. Now, this is really interesting. Next, some more mail came in. Now, this is just yours, Dave. I'm passing this. These are both yours. This is Steve's, Councilman Frazier's, Councilman Welsh. These are both yours, and Councilwoman Kelly. Now, this is interesting because we haven't had these in a while, but I got 2 requests in 1 week for us to consider reducing speed limits or attending to a corner, both of which are very valid. So one of them is one of our very nice residents is asking that we consider reducing the Canby Road limit from 55 down to 40. And the other written correspondence I got was, now, both of these have been in touch with other people. For example, the Canby Road request has already been in touch with Commissioner Balkind, who
It's going to take
suggested,
us, it's a county road.
Yeah.
but Commissioner Balkind asked him to bring it to our attention and
Okay.
have us discuss it. And then we can circle back with him. But I guess they want our endorsement and our feedback and all that. This other one has already been in touch with the state DOT, and this is about that interesting corner that everybody puzzles about, 21 South Parliament Road and Route 55. So if you guys could take a look at this, and we should talk about it at our next meeting. Just, get feedback from residents and then see what people have thought. But I think, we do need to read this. Tonight's not the night, but I wanted you to have it, and then we'll put it on the agenda for next time and have a discussion. Okay? All right, now this one. All right, let me just put that aside for that's detail. All right, now here's another one. This one is, I didn't make copies of this because it's right up what Corrine and I were talking about last year. The Department of Public Service from New York State, as winter service, as winter approaches, they talked about New Yorkers facing difficult time managing their energy costs, which we've been talking about. Now, what they did was, as part of a New York State public, an outreach, an education campaign, they are trying to help consumers manage their energy bills while staying warm and safe during the cold weather months. So they're encouraging consumers to take simple, low-cost energy savings measures to reduce energy use and consider bill payment options and blah, blah, blah. And very important stuff, but the bottom line is they produce a lot of educational materials and I just ordered a whole bunch of them, and I want to, when they come in, we'll encourage everybody to come into Town Hall and pick them up, or perhaps our town clerk, if somebody calls her and says they're interested in them, she can drop them in the mail. But it just reminded me that we really don't have a good list of people that may need some assistance with that. Okay, this next one. Good evening, Councilman Frazier. Bad night. We're glad you're here, though. The next one is from Senator Charles Schumer from the United States Senate, and what they have made available is a farm-to-school grant program. And actually, I was going to talk to, this is where they're really focusing on a farm-to-summer, agricultural farm-to-table type stuff, and they're offering grants. I think it looks to me like this is more important as far as our school systems go, but I've got their number here, and what I was going to do is get Shelley Knight in a couple of weeks. We had a session in here with the recreation people one night about offering more agriculturally oriented programs in the summer. So I'm going to give this to them and say, why don't you call them and see if there's anything we can get. But it is interesting that this kind of stuff is happening. This is Spotlight on Seniors. I wanted to, would you pass this? I've got a whole package here. Karina, this is for you. That's for her. They sent out, listen to this, they sent out exactly what she and I were talking about. I don't know if you're going to mention this tonight. We had talked about having, AARP offers free of charge people that will come and help seniors do their taxes, get their taxes done. So we were thinking about getting that happening here so it can help. So I know that Councilwoman Kelly is working on that or considering it, working with some of the seniors. We'll come back about that. This is the training meeting for the Association of Towns that I just stumbled on, and I wanted to, does anybody want to see this as it is, or want a copy of it, or just want to look online? It's just a, you know what it is? I'm going to keep it. It's the sign up.
Yeah, it comes in that, what's that magazine you get?
Topic in town.
Yeah. When we all decide, we will send you an email to remind you of the date for decision, and if everybody's going to participate, I'd like to do that. All right, and you got this in your package?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's take all that. And then, big piece of mail came in this week.
Oh, yeah.
Big piece of mail. Big surprise for everybody. I
Oh,
did
wow.
pass this down.
That is awesome. Especially from the state.
Oh my gosh.
Well, this is really great news, and I'm just so excited about it, as I'm sure everybody else will be. So we got a check from the state of New York this week for $313,150. And this is it's an interesting story because in 2008, the the DEC promised all these towns that they would help pay for the capping of the landfill and refill, and they would repay some of the landfill associated costs. And Tom St. Onge and others were working on it. I'm sure Lizette and everybody was working on it. But the DEC finally said, we ran out of money. The economy has collapsed. There's no money, you can't have it. So 2 years ago, they wrote the town and said, we have a little bit more money, and you were on the list having never gotten your reimbursement. And Tom St. Onge has worked diligently since then, turning in all the paperwork and doing all the things that they asked for in order to get this this reimbursement. And then he made me get involved because I had to sign for it, and they lost, I shouldn't say this, just between us residents of Unionville, don't repeat this outside of Unionville, but the DEC lost my signature 5 times. I had to go back on there, and Tom couldn't believe it. He said, now I know why it took so long, and it's online. So anyway, they had a little systems trouble, and we were going back, and then we finally got to the point where Tom was convinced that they were just never going to send it. It was over. He was just disappointed, but he said that's the way it works. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, the check arrived. So we have $313,000. Now, we have a long list of infrastructure. We're doing our multi-year planning. I'm going to suggest it for the December meeting. I get the investment policy up and running so everybody can see it. We'll be guided by the comptroller's office. And then we'll look at some things, because we do have other monies that we should be investing for an actual interest rate and not for savings account rates. So I think that we can postpone this discussion until next month. But congratulations. Thank you to Tom St. Onge and all that hard work he put in over the years. I know that people did years ago when it first came up, and the DEC ran out of money. So there's been a team effort on this, but guess what? Unionville finally got at least a portion of their costs. Not all of them, but a portion. It was about a third. I think it was over $900,000, $964,000 to take care of that landfill. Yeah. So we got about a third back, which is really great. So anyway, that's the mail. I wanted to save the best for last.
That was really good news.
Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah.
So when you see
Our
Tom, give him a
Major
hug.
thanks to Tom St.
Yeah.
Ange.
Yeah, give him a big hug. I mean, the guy, and I wanted him to come tonight so we could thank him in person, but because of the
What can we
snow,
do
it's good,
to,
but he did have
recognize-
something else.
Is there something we could do to recognize his diligence in attaining this?
Well, I think, we're going to have our Festival of Lights, and we're going to have all the employees, hopefully will come to that, and I think that we can probably discuss it
I think
and
you
come
wanted a
up with something
percentage
there.
of finder's fee for that.
Yep.
I'm just kidding.
We
No
can give him a
precedent
candy
started
cane.
there.
That works.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
It's our budget.
So that's it for the correspondence, and now I'm going to turn everything over. We're going to start our board member reports. Okay. I'll start with Mr. McMorris, Councilman McMorris.
Unfortunately, I better go. I just got an ambulance call.
Yeah?
Be safe.
You want to read it? Because it comes down here.
You get it online?
I
She might
I
get
had
it
it
printed
forwarded
out.
here.
Usually takes a few minutes.
Call station 1 area.
Yours is quicker.
71-year-old female responsive. New Horizons,
You can turn it up so you can hear it, so
I
I
can
don't
hear.
have to read it.
Route 82, crossing.
All right, I'm gonna go. If someone else can catch up with it, I'll be back. But I may be back sooner or
Yeah,
later.
you can't, now if you can come back for the executive session, we've
I'll come
got.
back as soon as I can.
Okay, thank you, John.
Thank you. I'll text you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Councilman McMorris.
Okay, outside of continuing work on the solar project,
Hard work,
which
too.
hopefully will come to fruition soon.
Yeah,
I also went over to Ulster County for recycling solid waste management program. I gotta say, Ulster County is way ahead of Dutchess County as far as working on recycling and, what we can do to keep the cost down. They also went into a lot of the
That's good.
things as to why the cost of, though it wasn't the only reason, but one of the reasons why China stopped taking our garbage is because we were sending them just that garbage
Yep.
and not recyclables. It was being contaminated, so they've gotten to a point now where they will only take recyclables with less than 0.5% contamination. So it's going to
Right.
cost a lot more. The other thing, and this is for everybody, whether you're using our recycling center or you have your garbage picked up, especially with the recyclables, what you throw into the garbage. It's estimated that within 23 years, there will be no more room in New York landfills. There's only one New York landfill operating now. And they say
where are they gonna send it? They're gonna truck it somewhere?
They're going to have to truck it out, they say probably to the Midwest. And I know from Ulster County, it's costing them almost $200 a truckload to take it out to the landfill. Now, and they're going through 18 trucks a day. So
It's a looming issue.
it's a
gonna
looming
be
issue
big.
that we're going to, it's not going to affect me. I mean, 23 years from now, I'm not going to be here. Or if I am, I'm not going to care. But, for younger people like Andrea, Marina, yourself,
Oh, thank you, Dave.
well, I'm an old fart, I'll admit it. But, it's going to be a looming problem, for my grandchildren, even for my children that are living in
That's
that
it.
town.
Hey,
That was real good.
Somebody else will go.
okay.
So,
Oh, thank you, John.
and the information that I got from them, I'll share with Tom St. Ange.
Great.
And, he can go through that, and I know Tom always used to come in and give a recycling spiel, and I think we might have to start doing something like that again.
Well, we will, we're going to be talking about that tonight, actually,
Okay.
because of what's going to have to happen with the recycling for next year, the prices. So
Yeah.
it's on our agenda.
It's
So,
definitely
and it's not a Unionville issue, and we do need more support for our recycling center. If we can get a whole new generation of people using it, it would help. So, can't hear? Oh,
There's no sound?
But
you can't hear?
I can hear.
Oh, no, I thought you were indicating that they couldn't hear on the.
No, I meant I'm not going to join the recycling center.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
See, there's you go. We got to overcome the negativity. All right. So that's great.
That's all I've got.
All right.
for now.
Thank you. Councilman Frazier, anything you want to add?
No, I don't have anything this time around.
Yeah, it's a snowy night. We got
Yeah.
a lot of things we got to do, so thank you.
yeah. So, like, I'm just going to give a very short report on, I've been working with the seniors. Jamie Ziola now took over the seniors group. She is just, she's so excited. She doesn't want to change too much though, because, you know, the seniors don't like too much change. But we're sort of working on plans of how to attract more people into our seniors group, because they are a small group and they used to be a very large group. I actually went 2 weeks ago tomorrow, I went, 2 weeks ago from tomorrow, I went and spoke to them about some ideas that Jamie and Betsy and I had sort of brainstormed about. One of them is the idea of a senior fair, so in May, having like a senior type fair where we just designed for them on a Friday when they're already here, try and get different people in that they want, you know, whether it's Life Alert or whether New York Connects is the organization, is like the, I don't know, it's the thing that works through the Office of the Aging that can connect people to different services and things. So I've also been working on, I had found out that the Office of the Aging, although they have Meals on Wheels, it's not accessible to the town of Unionville. Although they have transportation, it's not accessible to the town of Unionville. So trying to come up with different things. So Jamie was very helpful. She gave me a couple of resources to talk to. One of the great things, Jamie previously worked at the Putnam County Sheriff's Department, and she had mentioned an Are You OK program. And I said, well, let me see if Dutchess County has that. So sure enough, Dutchess County, Butch Anderson, they run an Are You OK program. Basically, it's an automated system. Every morning, you have to sign up for it for seniors. And they call every morning. If you don't answer, they come and check on you. So it's a great way. We also are trying to...
Wow, we didn't even know about that.
No, so
That is
we're
great.
starting with like a very small amount in our budget to try and figure out what the most important needs are. So it really appears that transportation is a super important need for them. They went so far as to say they would love a bus to go around and pick them all up for their Friday meetings. And I said, our budget's not that big. So maybe to come up with some stay-at-home moms or something that are willing for the people who really can't drive, and to come up with a concept of how we get meals to people. Early on, Betsy and I had a conversation over sort of making a list of professionals that are willing to donate, you know, an hour or two of time, either at a low cost or free, to our seniors, just so they know who they can call. It's so scary these days. You're like a senior and you just call somebody and you're just afraid you're going to get taken. How to connect kids in the community, but then that puts a whole different issue over safety, because, you know, children look different than they used to. It doesn't necessarily mean they're bad, but they may look differently dressed than our seniors are accustomed. And so sort of connecting, making these different connections where parents feel safe and the seniors feel safe. So we had some great conversations. My plan was to go there again tomorrow. They were having their Thanksgiving luncheon. But thanks to Winter Storm Avery, that is not happening because the seniors do not like to drive in any inclement weather, and chances are it will still be not pretty in the morning. They start at 10. So our long-term goal is to really do, short-term, we're going to get a flyer together, try and attract more interest. Our long-term goal is to really, around Community Day and whatever, really do a push that can involve the Historical Society, a push that can involve our seniors group, to really get different age groups connecting into our community.
That's wonderful. I just want to add, the one thing though that I'm really worried about is similar to that storm, multiple storms we had last year, and we realized that Unionville Mail could alert some people that are online all the time and tell them about the winter storms, because I got a lot of emails back from people saying, oh, this is really helpful, please keep us posted about what's going. So Unionville Mail, we can send it out, but there are a lot of these older folks who aren't online.
We're not.
And so we have a couple of issues. We need to be able to reach out. There are two things that we were concerned about last year, and we haven't. We're going to pick it up again once, this year. We'll pick it up and try. We need a database. We need a list of names of people that could be in danger.
Yep.
Mary Jean Calvey told me a very interesting, it's sad story about somebody that she was really worried about when she was on an EMT call about somebody went into a house. They had to push their way into the door because they'd gotten a call, but there was no heat in the house, and it was, like late January, and she said that does go on here even though we don't realize it.
Yep.
So we need to know if people have energy issues, if there's anything we can do there, because we can pull in some of these resources from the county and all these places that have already got something up and running. We just have to connect them. And also, if there's a way that we can get lists of names of these people and who they are, so that if there's any other way that we can reach out to them and connect them with what they need, then that would be, like when we had the warming center here, we called it a warming center, we allowed people to come to recharge their phones and stuff. We had 4 people. And I think, and some of that is more people may have come, but they didn't know about it.
Right, it was
And
hard.
we don't have a way to reach them, so I think what we have to do is start a database so that people can know if they're snowed out or snowed in or whatever. It's something that we need to perfect a little bit more, and working with the seniors. And Todd Tancredi,
Yes, head of Office of the Aging.
he is head of the Office of the Aging, and they sent us a bill for seniors that participated in their
Was that the
brunch last May.
Oh.
They sent it late. I don't know why they sent it. It's not like we haven't paid since May.
Oh,
I don't want anybody to
no,
think
yeah.
that. It was a bill that came recently, and so I called to find out what they were, and they charge a very reasonable rate for the meal, but they had X number of seniors, like 16 or 20 seniors from Unionville were present, and they were billing us for that much. And I said, well, how do you know they were from Unionville? And he said that they actually have them call and reserve it and tell them what town they're from and make sure they're from Dutchess County. And I said, okay, can we have that list? Because if we can get the list from them, that could be the start of any of our seniors that are going to these senior things, that it might be a way for us. And he said, I'll send you the list. That's a good idea. And I said, from a financial standpoint, of course, I want to make sure that the people that said,
Yeah.
Shouldn't we be able to get a pretty decent list from our tax collector? Because they get the STAR programs
Oh, from the assessor's office?
from the assessor's office?
Oh, yeah, I guess if
Yeah,
they
Michelle
qualified for
All those seniors-
STAR.
Yeah,
Right.
they're not all on there,
enhanced-
but they're not all on there, but certainly, yeah.
Especially
I
the
guess
That's a
it's
good
just
idea.
STAR.
Yeah, just a
Yeah.
baseline.
Yeah,
Maybe
Yeah.
we can start, and then we create a flyer for, if the vendors come up or you have the
Right.
fair, we can communicate with those people and say, please come, because we've got
Yes.
all these things we're setting up just for you.
Right.
And we'll know who to send it to. So we're starting our database, but that's a great
Yeah.
idea.
No,
We
I
should be able
like
to get
that
that.
too.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
you.
And Karina, it's really great that we've got somebody focusing on seniors, because we have these weather issues, we have lots of other issues, so we definitely need to get something going here, which is great. I think they'll like it too.
Oh, yeah, and they were very, even with the flyer that we put out, we're not putting Jamie's phone number there, because I said, I get that, you don't want your phone number like around every supermarket, so we'll have them calling in, speaking to Stephanie will, get the messages to Jamie. So, I think they really appreciated that my
And what's the
concern-
flyer for, just to say
Well,
we have
like
a
the
senior club?
initial flyer before we do the whole real push on membership, just so that wherever they go, they can
see.
put it up.
Oh, good.
So we kind of suggested whatever library you go to or supermarket, or if everyone takes 2, I would say there was probably about 15 people there that day. It's not huge, but that's 30 flyers that get out into the community.
Yeah, that's great. Good. All right, well, you're going to keep us posted. That's
Yep.
fantastic. Okay, Councilman Welsh, are you?
Yeah, I just want to say a very few things. In 2015, I started on the handicap accessibility grant project, which is finally just about done, I guess, 99.9%.
Yeah,
now.
Jake's going to give us a report tonight.
Yeah,
He's-
thanks,
yeah.
Jake. I've been keeping tabs on it, and I'm glad to see that it's finally, it's changed considerably since the initial application to the county.
You like it better, right?
Oh, yeah, and thanks to the current administration, we're getting a very good result. We got a very good result, I should say, so thanks to all of them. And also, I had the pleasure of serving on the committee now for the dam situation at Furnace Pond, to try to resolve that favorably financially for the town and for the residents, so,
And we're going to keep that up.
yeah, oh, yeah.
So, that's on the agenda briefly. We can give an update,
Yeah.
so we'll do that. Thank you very much, and thanks for serving on that. Okay, at this point, we will now turn our attention to our Town Highway Superintendent report, who is not here. And what he gave
He's a
me.
little busy.
He's out there, yeah. So in our last, I think our work session, we talked about a couple of things. So here's our plan. Superintendent Wisman and I had a couple of conversations. These are the written truck specs for that truck that he's got that you guys were asking questions about. And he thought it would be helpful if you could look at this in writing. And he's been talking to Councilman Frazier about trying to reduce costs. And they're going to work on that. And he said, just take a look at, these are some of the options he wanted on the truck. And he's going to be at the December meeting so we can review this with him. And it gives he and Councilman Frazier a little more time to see if they can match this up with a cheaper price. But so this is for your review for the December meeting. In addition, what we're going to do in December, I know there's been issues in the past, and this year I think we did it in January, late January, the second meeting or something. But Superintendent Wisman is going to bring his 284 in the December meeting. So he'll go over the truck and he'll go over the 284, what he'd like. He wanted to wait for the budget to be voted on tonight so that he knows he's got the money he's proposed. And then he'll bring his 284 in December for us to have to review, to discuss and to vote on in January. So we'll have it way in advance with lots of time to think about it, talk to him about it and all that. So those are two things he's going to do for our December meeting. And with Councilman Frazier working with him, I think the truck might look better. But he said this is what he got from the state bid. And please entertain this. And then, anyway, it's going to come up again in December. We've got time. The budget is going to get voted on tonight. And he's waiting for all of that to happen anyway. So we can come back. We'll circle back to this. So hang on to this. I'm going to put it on the agenda for December. Okay? That would have been his report. And with the 284 coming, we'll have, and again, we're not voting on it that night. That is just our, again, he's informing us of what he'd like to do for the new year, and then we'll have time to review it and then vote in January. Okay? So that would be Richie Wisman's report. And now I'm going to turn over to the town clerk.
So this week, we have been looking into grants from the New York State Archives, specifically for record management and things of that sort. And I think we're going to apply for a grant. It's a shared services grant, and it would be up to $150,000 towards record management in a very vast capacity. They don't really have very specific guidelines, but to achieve a permanent, long-term goal with another either town, county, fire department, whoever wants to join in with this.
So Andrea's going to look for a call around and get somebody lined up. But also, can we use it to digitize?
Oh, yeah, you can use it for digital, static storage. You can use it like as a way to manage your storage room, like a database like that.
We need it.
I can't even think of all the different possibilities, but Mary Lou was fantastic with digitizing all the board minutes into Laserfiche from as far back as I can find, which was great. So I think we just need to build upon that because we have the software piece with Laserfiche, and now we just could, work on getting more of our records into that to have them better accessible.
And it would help because John mentioned the dam. It has been a struggle because Andrea, our town clerk, has had to go into the archives room, but to find certain things that are 10, 15 years old that you can't keep in file cabinets all the time. And if you have it all digitized, imagine if we could just search and see all the vouchers, or if we could search and see the contract way back. It would be really wonderful. So thank you so much for taking that up and taking care of that for us. I hope, we'll help you in any way, and we'll try to get that grant, but that would be fabulous.
Yeah.
All right, anything else is that your report?
Yeah, and then we'll be looking to sell recycling center passes after, everything gets approved.
We're going to we'll talk about that. Actually,
Yeah.
you can talk about that in a few minutes.
Yeah.
We talk about that when
I'll
that's
wait for
great.
that piece.
Since Tom couldn't be here, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. Public comments on agenda items. I don't think we're going to have that tonight.
Unless Jake wants any.
He's a resident too. We'll go right to departmental reports. Andrea, the recycling, there was a lot of analysis done this year. Because when the cost started tripling, and you guys have heard this before in our review, there's a lot of analysis done on the recycling center and how much we were going to be losing next year if we kept the recycling center open and we continued to have the escalation of costs.
Yeah.
So the recommendation was made to increase passes, and we're going to ask for a motion on that tonight, so do you want to
I
walk?
thought we already increased it on.
What we did
that
was
just punch
the
card.
card, the
Yeah.
punch card for,
Yeah.
per bag went
Per
up
bag,
$1.
yeah.
From $3 to $4.
Yes, right.
So that card went, and we had an onslaught of people that bought in advance of before the price went up, which I thought was great. That
It's like
people were,
those forever stamps.
Yeah.
yes.
Buy a lot of
Yeah,
them
and
before
then
they
they go
go
down.
up, and then they go down.
And then we lose them. So, or you lose them. So, but you could talk through, I know we're working on, we're going to update all the material. Do you remember the pricing for the?
I am not sure. I haven't seen all the prices, so I don't want to speculate what I've heard yet. If you want to take that piece.
Oh, well, I couldn't, I think it's $75 and $100.
Okay, for the non-resident rate?
I'll tell you what we're doing. The crux of it is we are eliminating senior pricing. The recommendation from Tom, and we feel very sorry about this, but Tom St. Ange wanted me to assure everybody that I don't think these permit passes have been raised since the 80s, he told me, for the permit passes. So when we did the math, which I have in the next room, I didn't bring it with me because we covered this at a work session, but when you do the math, the only way we can survive in the recycling center is to get the exact same number of people that have bought passes, and then have them pay the regular price for it. And so everybody will be paying $75 instead of that reduced rate, which I don't remember the senior
It was
rate.
30
It was 30.
30.
60
And it was 30.
and 50.
and 50.
And that's the way it's been for just the very beginning in 30 years now.
And the non-residents were paying 75 and 100?
60 and 100.
60 and 100. So what we've done is we've eliminated senior pricing, and we think that based on the same number that are buying, we will be able to just cover everything, barring any, we've got a little bit built in for a crash of some piece of machinery. But, because that can happen.
Yeah, sure.
But we also really want to have a real marketing effort to get a bunch of new people to buy these passes. I know the people in Beekman love it, according to the town of Beekman. People have told us that people really enjoy it. All of our people love going there, and they go regularly.
And you do save money, even with the new rates, it's still a significant savings.
Well, the way we calculate, I'm glad you mentioned, the way we calculated, if you use Royal Carting, and we're not cutting Royal Carting out because they pick up all of our stuff at the recycling
It
center.
all goes to them anyway.
They're happy regardless of which way we go, but if our residents were to use, they wouldn't have those plastic containers out front, and I have to tell you, I've gotten 3 complaints from residents saying, what are you going to do about the plastic containers, because they're not being put away on time, and they're in the road, and in the wintertime on a night like this, they're just going to get blown right through because of snowplow.
Yes.
So there are residents who don't like the plastic Royal Carting containers in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
Personal choice, but there are people that complain if they go out into the road, which I can understand why, it's a
Good
danger.
hazard, yeah.
But, and those are around $72 every 2 months. So the way we calculated it, even with our increase, it's a $200 on an average bag collection of 1 to 2 bags a week, I believe we did. It's a $200 savings for people to still use the recycling center. So if you're a senior, or you're a fixed income person, or you're a smart person who watches your pennies, you know what, $200 savings a year is worth it to you. You throw it to the back of the trunk and then drop it off on Wednesdays, Saturdays, or Sundays.
And I think if you're doing a good recycling job, you may save a lot more than 200.
Yeah, so much
Yeah.
is eligible to be recycled
Yes.
these days that, if you compost in conjunction with recycle, you have very little household trash.
Yeah.
Well, and I think composting is another thing that Dave has
Yeah.
mentioned that you learned about in the Ulster.
Right, there were a lot of things that they suggested we do to cut down on the amount of what we put into landfills.
Yeah, oh, yeah, definitely.
That's the big thing, what we put into landfills.
Yeah.
I mean, we can get into it another time.
I think we need to have I
Yeah,
think we have to have an idea session on recycling, because the only reason our costs are going up, which we'll be advertising soon, is to break even. We can't have a big facility that loses money for the town. I don't think the taxpayers would appreciate that. But, there is something of a civic duty. You feel like, well, I should buy a permit just because it helps float it for the town, and it is a good thing to have. Some people aren't using it. So we may find that through adding some of these services that Dave learned about and that Tom St. Ange would like to offer, that it might round it out more for people that will use it and help us make sure that we can cover the cost. So,
Yeah, and could I suggest we put ads on our TV channel for it?
yeah.
Remind residents
Yeah, good idea.
that a new year is coming, you'll get the maximum benefit of the car ID, if you buy it
Right.
in
the
December or
whole time.
January, you could use it the whole year. Start saving money immediately.
Yeah,
Yeah, they can buy it in November and use that pass.
Yeah, we can buy it.
Immediately,
yeah, next week.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, all we have to do,
For
we've
the
got the letter all
newcomers.
written, the letter's written, the pricing is gonna be changing. That's all, the forms are the same, we just have to take away the seniors discount.
not to mention the interesting staff at the recycling center.
That's half the fun.
Yeah, that's half the fun, right? Yeah. All right, we'll put that on TV, put on TV. Okay, thank you. Great, all right, thank you, Andrea, for taking care of that. All right, next department, Parks. Mr. Gosnell, can you come join us?
Thanks for your patience.
Is there a chair for him?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah,
All
it's
right, turn that mic up a little bit towards him. Snowing.
How's it going? So lots of stuff going on in the past month. On, I guess it wasn't Monday, it was a hot one, it was hot. So on Tuesday, the guys and I did the installation up at the highway department.
Oh,
So that is
wonderful.
finished, it's done, it came in under budget.
Thank you.
Wow.
Great,
Yeah,
that's fabulous.
so we will not be wasting money blowing heat up the ceiling anymore.
Yes, good.
That was about 2,500 square feet. That's awesome. The parking lot project down the road is definitely moving along. It is nice. It's going right along. We are to the point now where we've kind of run out of weather.
Yes,
So there's still some painting. There's a little bit more, not paving, but some sealing of some spots that will have to be done. They will definitely get back into it. I mean, it's supposed to be 40 degrees tomorrow and 40 degrees on Saturday, so it's not like the snow is going to hang around. But actually, it looks really nice down there, which is great. And we
The
were
sidewalks
also-
look awesome.
They do. It looks really nice down there. We also were able to take care of the area under the deck where we had all the problems with drainage. While I was gone on vacation, Tom and Adam started working on it. Once I got back, we finished it. So that's all dried in, and they paved down in there. We have to spread some more stone, but we put drainage in there, so that should be.
That is really an
Set.
important uptick.
yeah, very good.
So now we won't be
Major,
digging into
improvement.
the big hole.
That is
which
great. And our engineers helped. I mean, that was an all-hands-on-deck meeting, and I know Highway came over with their machinery. I mean, it was a real nice team effort. That was great. Good job.
Oh, the kiddie pool was started as well. That was another thing. So the fiberglass liner is already out. That's been completely removed. They've already cut up a whole bunch of, actually they've cut all the way around the pool itself, taken out all of the concrete. Everything is in really not so great shape. You know, no surprise there. But we're to a point now where they're done for the season. They'll come back in the spring, and we'll get everything back together and get it up and running for
Excellent.
next season. So everybody should be pretty happy with that once that happens.
That's great.
Which is nice. We just got a check in the mail. We auctioned off our 1997 Groundmaster Toro mower. So 21-year-old mower. We got
21-year-old.
Yeah, we got $2,500 for it, so that's really nice.
Excellent, good work.
Moved that out before we had to spend too much more money on it.
That's great.
And then you do have one thing in your packets.
Did you get a copy, Jake?
Yeah, Griffin pump.
I didn't, but I've seen it.
Here.
I know what it is.
Will you pass that down?
Yeah.
Here you go. Just so you can walk them through it.
So, as you guys know, I'm sure you heard it last month. At some point while you were in the town hall, there was some like hammering going on with the
Yeah,
pipes.
water hammering.
They were making a lot of noise. And the guys and I started kind of diagnosing some things. We had Crown come in, look at our boiler system. It wasn't our boiler. And then we started diagnosing other things. And finally we were like, you know what? We'll just call the plumber. We get done faster. So we actually called the company that installed our UV system. So we have a UV system in this building because it's a public water supply. So we're mandated to have it by the health department. So we called them, they came in, and they had the idea that it was the well pump, something to do with one of the valves on the well pump. They opened the top of the well pump, started checking things out, and there is a, and I'm not good, I don't know this.
Pitless.
There you go.
To attach to the pump to pull it.
Exactly. And that was basically not installed properly. Everything that they used when they installed it back in 1995 was not done properly, so they had to dig down around the wellhead and cut the casing to be able to pull that out. Once they pulled it out, they realized that the pump itself was in really bad shape, seeing as it's been in since 1995. And so they talked to Tom, who in turn called Betsy, who was in the city that day, and instead of just putting the same aged, old, not in good shape, pump back down,
Right, put a new one in.
They put a new one in.
The hole was open.
Yeah,
The
the hole
digging
was
had been
open,
done.
it was there, we were
Yeah,
dug
that was
down.
the expense.
It makes sense to do it. Now we're set for another, 20-something years.
Yeah.
That didn't fix the problem.
Still got the hammer?
No, we fixed it.
Tell them how you fixed it.
We figured out that it was the solenoid valve, in the valve on the UV system. So it's fixed.
Good.
But in turn, that's why we have this bill. So it's unfortunate, but Griffin did do a very good job. They put the new pump in for us. So
Everything's done, great.
Well, it was bound to go anyway.
just so that you guys know what
So-
you're looking at when you have to sign this.
I just signed it, I have the original, so I'll
Yeah.
pass it around.
So, before Jake takes off, because we have another report to give, I thought that we could take a minute because we have to pay this bill. So, this is be about it was an unbudgeted expense, and while it was unbudgeted, it seems like it was a good idea, certainly it was a good idea to do it. It was the best guess at the time for what the problem was. So we need to pay for it, and I'm going to, thank you. Well, on the contingency fund, these are the list of things that we have approved to come from the contingency fund this year. And the contingency fund was $50,000, and we have now $7,099 left. And I thought if we could use this to pay Griffin Pump Service, since it was an unbudgeted expense, it'll come out of there, and we've got enough left to pay for it.
Yep.
So it's, and plus, since we are set, it was a good infrastructure expenditure for us.
Pretty sure the way this has to work is we transfer the money out of contingency into his repair fund, and then he pays the bill out of the repair fund.
Oh, that's fine. I just want to make sure that we know where the money's coming
Yeah.
from, and I'd like to
Yeah.
make a motion that we use these funds to pay the Griffin Pump Service for the bill that we incurred. And the back working of, and we would do it that way so we can trace it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the money comes from here. So I'd like
Okay.
to make that motion
All
that we
right.
pay that bill out of
I'll
the
second.
contingency fund. You second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, no opposed. Motion carries. We will take care of that bill next week, Jake. Thank you.
And yeah, everything else rolling along pretty well.
Well, thanks for all your work, and thanks for
Nice rigs
overseeing
go
that
up on Monday.
paving and concrete work.
Yeah.
Everything looks really outstanding.
And it's a great thing, for the record, for our neighbor, Mrs. Tillman, who's not here tonight, please describe the insulation that you used in the highway department, which I think is a fabulous thing. It's going to save us.
It's not Owens Corning,
Bless you.
bless you. I forget what brand it was. Bless you.
Thank you.
Home Depot had Owens Corning. We actually went with Williams. They gave us a better price. It was whatever brand Williams had that was comparable. It's the Eco Touch, so it's not the old nasty.
Irritation.
I mean, it's still a little itchy by the end of the day,
Well,
but it's not the
it's
same. We wore, our masks and stuff, so it is not.
But Eco Touch is important.
Yes, and it's not vermiculite, so it's not fibrous.
Praise you, Jesus.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so
Well,
you-
thanks for extending beyond the park area with your efforts, because
That was awesome.
that was a big plus to do the highway.
Big savings. Yeah, big
Yeah.
savings for us. Thank you.
Yeah, you
Tell the
got it.
guys we really appreciate it.
Will do.
Good job.
Yeah.
All right,
Awesome.
before you
Yeah.
go, can you help with the recreation report?
Yeah.
Okay, the
Absolutely.
recreation report. Andrea is going to chip in on paint night. How'd that
I
go?
love paint night. It was great. We did a winter scene, and it was very well attended, and we all had a great time.
That's great. So those paint nights have become, for adult, that's one of our few adult activities. We're going to be building on that, but it's very popular and people love it.
Awesome.
So that was great. And in addition, we have,
So we have our Festival of Lights coming up on December 1st. I'm not dressing up like an elf.
Jake,
Just put it out there.
how about just the shoes?
I have to work.
I think Andrea got something from you. She may have gotten something for you.
But no, so instead of doing dinner with Santa, because it is kind of evolved out of something that everybody,
Yep.
could agree on, we've kind of scaled it back some. Santa will be there, which I think is awesome.
I heard there's gonna be an elf there too.
Yeah, I heard that too.
No.
Santa assured me.
So Santa will be there for everybody to take pictures with. We're going to have some refreshments, some, holiday cookies, stuff like that, hot cocoa, cider, things like that, some caroling, and then I think it's going to run from 4:30 to 6.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then we'll turn the lights on like we do every year.
Very nice.
And it'll be nice. It'll be a little more festive.
And we're going to ask all of our employees to come, and we're going to ask all of our town officers to come, zoning board and our planning board and everybody else, our constables, or hopefully everybody will come and we'll, and anybody, all the residents will come, as many people can, and we'll have a little good cheer to get the season started.
Absolutely.
So thank you. You're setting up the lights?
Oh, the lights started going up this week, yes.
Oh, great. Okay.
You've really been busy.
Yeah. We have the event calendar went out already for our 7 main events next year. I don't remember the dates for everything.
Well, we know we have a couple of months that
Look
are
it up
free.
on the calendar.
Yeah.
And Councilwoman Kelly is working on
Working
perhaps
on
adding
adding.
one for one of our free months.
Cool.
So, but it starts with egg hunts for all
Yes.
and the
then-
fishing derby, and
the
then it goes
fishing
from
derby.
there.
And it'll go
Good.
from there. And then we've also, Betsy, Andrea, Steph, and myself have been working on doing interviewing for the event coordinator position, which has gone super, super well. We've had a lot of really good people come through the door, which has been awesome. So, yeah.
That's it. That'll be exciting too, because you have people that are interested in a part-time
Yeah.
thing but they've got a lot of experience.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how much.
So our events,
That's awesome.
our events will become their primary focus. That's all they do. So anyway, thank you for all the hard work there, everybody. So that's still a work in progress. So we'll talk about that again.
Yeah.
So things are going well. You're preparing for, with Shelley Knight, who will be running our summer camps and
Yeah,
pool.
we've had a bunch of meetings with her, which have gone really super well. We've talked about getting different things out for different positions for that.
We worked on that today, so that's going to be on time.
Yeah, things are moving along. It's really nice. It's a little scary when Jess left, and we weren't quite sure, but I kind of like the idea that we've had of giving certain people certain aspects of things, and it seems to be working out really well.
They're excited.
This week, Caitlin and Lori started at the after-school program, which has been amazing too. So
That's
they
nice.
kind of get ownership over that, make it their thing.
Terrific people. Just really, we have such great people.
Nope, Salim's still here.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
Okay.
Salim is still working with us.
Okay.
I think he was a little excited today because they had. I think they got to the point where they had 4 kids there, and Caitlin's like, "Well, if you want," he was like, "Yep, we'll see you later." So works out well.
Yeah, it's nice.
But no, things are rolling along. It's really nice.
Good. Well, thank you so much for all your hard work.
Yep.
We really appreciate it,
Yeah,
Jake.
yeah, thank you.
Yep,
Thank you.
You really got a lot accomplished, as usual.
trying. We're working on it.
Yeah, good thing you had that vacation, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Just make sure that the
Get-
heaters go off.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We'll unplug them, Tim.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I
Okay.
can add one thing, it was brought up, a couple of things were brought up, like the garbage cans out at the side of the road, one thing. But today being November 15th, happens to be the first day of the snow ordinance.
Yes.
So
Oh,
that, there's no parking or standing on the town roads,
Right.
and,
No
anybody
karting,
who
royal
likes to
karting
park up
plastic.
at the end of their driveway.
Because of the snow, you mean?
Because of the snow, especially tonight, I think I'd move back a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because those
you
plows
don't
are
wanna
gonna
get
go
hit.
through, and
They go
if you're
fast.
within the right of way,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're at risk.
You're at
Cars
risk.
And the drivers are at risk if they hit it.
yeah, and our drivers are at risk too. And according to town law, they can be towed or ticketed.
we should put that on the website too.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
We should
Yeah.
put that on the website in a little banner, on the front
Yeah.
to remind people, and they know, but sometimes they forget. Thank you, Dave. Okay, now we're going to move into, because we are going to have an executive session tonight, because we've got some important things to talk about, which we'll introduce soon. But before then, our old business, solar developers for the landfill and vacant land. The update, we're going to talk about some of that in executive session, so that update it's a work in progress. We'll move to that. On old business, I've got Furnace Pond Dam Exploratory Committee. We formed a committee with, and Brian Skorlick was here today, by the way.
Oh, good.
So Brian Skorlick, Dennis Stunning, John Welsh,
Tom Farmer,
Tom Farmer,
Jake, and you.
Jake Gosnell,
And
Tom
Tom
St.
St.
Ange, and myself. So we have 6 people, and we're looking, Tom Farmer brought in all his old material from years ago, and bless you. So what we're doing is we're listening to the guidance from the DEC engineer, the gentleman that Jake and I went up to Albany and met with, and we're trying to work with them. So, and kind of follow what he's doing. Anybody else that's interested and that has the time, join in. All we did yesterday was go look at the dam and look at all the things that the DEC had mentioned to us, and we're going to try to find our way out of this problem. I think that'll be a big help, and Brian had a couple of suggestions today. We have work to do, and we'll share it with everybody later. We're ordering a bunch of information, and when it comes in, we'll have something to talk about.
Excellent.
So, wouldn't that be nice if that got solved?
Yeah, I hope Brian got to see the handicap accessibility improvements.
I didn't ask him if he was going that way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Does he help with that?
He helped with that too.
Big help.
Yeah.
With the county.
Yeah, so, another old business item is workers' compensation and the future considerations. They did drop the payment required for next year down, but we have some serious issues that the town has to talk about, and when we move to go into executive session, I will be saying that we are going to move into executive session to talk about a personnel-related issue, which workers' comp definitely is, but we've got some important things to discuss, and we'll go through it there because it's a looming problem for us. Do you all have the intermunicipal agreement? Okay, let me pass this around. I'm giving you things because everything, the mail is just like everything's coming in. Is there one for?
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Thanks.
Dutchess County has, through Glenn March's area, actually, Christopher Barkley, he has contacted all the town supervisors and wanted us to consider doing procurement through them or bidding and stuff. So really what you want to see, I sent this to Jeff Battistoni to take a look at. But anyway, all you really want to see is this last page. Now, what they're saying is that they've hired somebody to help with bid specs and to help put together any information needed for buying things that we don't do a lot of anyway. But anyway, the project cost is $60 an hour, and I just said, I don't understand. I called them and I said, I don't understand why we're paying the county $60 an hour. This sounds like a smart service that you would want to offer us anyway. And he said, well, we had to hire somebody. So I looked this over. I wanted you guys to be aware of it because they wanted me to sign. They sent me a contract to sign and send back to them. It's similar to the Dutchess County Sheriff, which is different,
Right.
Because we've been doing that forever. But there's so many fuzzy things. I called him and asked him questions. It reminds me of workers' comp. I asked him,
I was just going to say the same thing.
I said, well, what happens if 4 people are using the service? Or what if we decide that we want your person to help us with something, but then all the information that comes back to us is not worth it to us, we don't want to proceed. Are we still paying for the person?
Probably.
Do we pay for the person if we share? Do we pay $60 an hour if 5 towns are working on the same project? Or do you divide 60 by 5? Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Okay. So he wrote down a series of my questions, and he said that he was going to get back to me. So anyway, I sent it over to Jeff, and Jeff Battistoni said, I have some serious problems with that contract. And I said, well, I'll pass it on to the board. And I wanted you all to know that. So my recommendation is that we put this aside for now and not worry about it. We're pretty good at, Steve's really good at knowing all the rules in his head. We've got a good procurement guide. We tend to
And we
do
don't buy
these.
that much really.
We don't buy
I
that
think
much.
most of this stuff you can get through the state OGS at no charge.
Right. And even with the handicap parking lot, we had Tom Harvey and Morris Associates, now CPL, they did, helped us. They were going to be part of the package anyway.
Yeah.
So for really big projects, it's kind of worked into, so I don't think that we need to move forward with this, and I was going to recommend, feel free to take a look at it. If you want. We can sign it anytime. And it's a pay-as-you-go, it is not, you
Well,
know,
I was just gonna
Definitely
say,
work
it probably wouldn't hurt to have the, join the service, but we just won't use it unless we absolutely need to.
But not if our
I don't
lawyer
know.
has
The
any issues with
contract
the
is
contract.
The
Yeah.
way they
If we can
did
change
the
the
workman's
contract.
compensation.
Yeah,
thing,
until
you
that's
sign the
resolved, I don't wanna
contract.
sign anything.
I don't want to sign anything.
here's the other
right
thing,
now.
now, the one thing to think about is, I can ask Jeff Battistoni to work on this contract, and then we're gonna pay him to work on their
Yeah, we're spending
contract,
money on something we may never use.
and that we may never use, and I thought to myself, well, I left him with 4 questions, and maybe they could work those into the contract themselves,
Right.
and then come back to us, and then we'll
That's true.
Well,
consider
there's
it.
no fee to sign up, correct?
Except
There's
for
no
paying
fee,
the lawyer to
but we're not
review
gonna
it.
Well,
sign
yeah,
this contract.
Yeah, but
Do
if
we
our
wanna-
lawyer has issues with it, I wouldn't sign a contract.
No, I mean, after he says so.
So we won't pay our lawyer to fix the contract. We'll let
Right.
them struggle with it and have them make the changes to the contract. And if it comes back again around and we like what's in it the second or third time, then maybe we proceed then. Does that sound like a reasonable
That
course
sounds
of action?
more of an approach, because I want to do nothing until we resolve the workers' compensation issue.
And we're going to discuss that. It's
Yeah,
big.
okay.
Okay.
I mean, the one thing I like about this contract is the bid net. We can do that on our own. Since we sometimes have a hard time getting back bids, I heard that is the way to go. Like, people aren't reading the Poughkeepsie Journal anymore. We have to do it because the law hasn't
Yes.
caught up yet, but bid net is the way to go, and that's where contractors and stuff like that are
Will go.
looking for their jobs. Because they just do a search.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I can do that, let me put in a bid.
Yeah.
So all our bids should probably not only go to the Poughkeepsie Journal, but be listed on BidNet.
Did we do that for the handicap parking?
Put it on BidNet?
Yeah.
No,
I
I
wonder
don't
if Tom-
know
I
if
wonder
it
if
gets
Tom did.
posted, because sometimes companies, when they see that we've placed a bid, that they watch the Poughkeepsie Journal, they will then put it out elsewhere, which is probably,
I don't think so. I don't think it is
There-
put on BidNet.
No?
Yeah, there's other companies that contact me when we have a bid, and they ask, questions and things like that.
Yeah,
So I
that's from
don't
the
know.
Poughkeepsie Journal, because there were like 6, we had like 6, didn't we have 6 responses?
Yeah,
For-
that one we had a lot of responses
Yeah.
to, but
Yeah.
other things we don't necessarily.
Yeah,
Well, some of that
it's
is
very
word of mouth,
topic
because
related.
as soon as Morris Associates would say, we've got this job coming, then they
Right.
all start.
Yeah, they have a lot of
It was,
connections.
yeah, a lot of people.
Probably,
We're
but you're
just
right
doing it
about the Poughkeepsie
ourselves.
Journal. I feel like you spend your $45 for.
Oh,
Yeah.
forget it. Nobody reads that thing.
Well, we just read it online, but
Yeah, yeah.
we pay for it and look for what you want online.
So do you feel comfortable with waiting until they get their contract straightened out?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
And-
so we'll bring it, I'll
There
keep
are
an eye on
some
it.
benefits to it.
Yeah.
I use the purchasing co-op at my job.
Yeah?
Because I
Oh, you
can
do?
get the paper products
Yeah.
and stuff like that, less cost than I can get.
Oh, we use that
Oh,
here
yeah,
too.
well,
Well, but we,
Yeah.
we do
But
use
that's-
their paper products. There's like a.
That's the central
like a
storeroom.
Jake Drive.
Well, it's
Yeah.
listed on there,
Andrea's
that's why I
reminding me.
mentioned it.
Yeah, so we do use that. Actually,
Yeah.
the final order has to be in soon. I've got that on my calendar. I gotta remind Jake. The final order for year end has to be in soon. But, yeah, we do use that one. So you're right, that's a really great benefit. This has nothing to do with that, he said.
I mean,
and
this
that's-
Well,
is like to
it's-
pay for
it's
that
listed on there.
person.
He told me it had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it says cooperative purchasing.
Well,
A cooperative,
I guess if we were putting together a bid for something,
Right.
as opposed to driving to the storeroom and picking up our
Yeah.
order.
well, if you think there might be some positive benefits to it.
Would they consider doing a test bid with the truck?
Yeah, show us what you can do, yeah.
I think we can do better through OGS,
Yeah.
put it on their system.
Okay. Well, I know that you and Richie are working on the truck, so we'll talk about it next month. I'm not worried about that, but I think with this one, we'll follow, we'll just tell them that we've got concerns about the contract, and we'll see if they can work it out. If their attorney holds firm on this contract, then there's nothing we can do about that. But I'll circle back and tell them that we have an interest, but we have problems with the contract. We'll see what they say, okay?
Okay.
All right. We already had the motion about transferring money from the contingency fund to pay for Griffin Pump Service. now we really need to make a motion to vote on the 2019 budget.
And what about payroll? We skipped 12.2.
Payroll, change everyone to bi-weekly.
I thought
Oh, thank you.
we did that with paychecks. I thought we already did that.
No, we still have our monthly, and we did an analysis, like you guys get paid monthly, I think.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So now everyone.
We did an analysis, and I know for people that are part-time that earn small paychecks, it's a headache, but the analysis, there's a savings to the town if we just get everybody on the same schedule, because they charge us each time we run a payroll, and some of the stuff is duplicative, and we thought, you know what, if everybody's on the same, it also saves us in labor, because we have somebody that is dealing, double check, she comes and she's got to do the monthly, and then she's got to turn around and do the bi-weekly, then she's got to turn around, and it just seems like if everybody were paid bi-weekly for starting January 1 of 2019, if the smaller check people don't mind that, it would save the town money in labor and in effort and with paychecks.
Absolutely.
So if you agree with that, can somebody I'm happy I can make a motion that we move everybody to bi-weekly for 2019 and beyond, and everybody be on the same schedule, and it should work
All right,
perfectly.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion carries. We'll move to bi-weekly. That'll be a big help for our payroll people. They'll be happy.
Sorry.
Danielle
now we
will
can
be
move
happy.
to the budget.
Thank you very much. Thanks for catching that. I'm
I'm
sitting
like,
here looking.
wait, I missed that.
Okay. Now we will need a motion to approve the 2019 budget.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No? Okay, the 2019 budget is hereby approved, and we'll need a certified copy of it Monday. Okay, thank you. All right, terrific. Now, may I have a motion to approve to pay all the bills?
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we will do that. First thing Monday morning, we'll finish paying all the bills. And you've got a stack of vouchers there. Anybody that hasn't signed them, let's bring them into the
I think,
executive session and take them.
Yeah, I think they've all been signed. Steve, you want to check? But I think
I haven't looked at some of those. I'll look at them on Monday.
Some
I
even
don't-
have 4.
Yeah.
Some have 4?
Some of them, because I saw ones with 3. I figured I'll sign them too.
Oh.
But Steve, you want to look through it
You're
just in
just an
case?
overachiever.
Yeah. Like, what? I must have been with those
It's good to know. Okay, I'm going to let the folks out there know that we need to move to an executive session to talk about a personnel-related issue and about a land lease issue. So we're going to do that because we have some important subjects that we are required to talk about in private, actually. And then we will come back and close out the meeting. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Can I have
I'll
a
make
motion that we...
motion to go on executive session.
Make the motion. I'll make the
Motion, seconded?
Yeah.
All right. We are all in favor?
All right.
Let's move to executive session,
Why
and
don't
since
we
that
just-
room is warmer, we're heading in there.
Oh, okay.
Is that all
I
right?
was gonna say, why don't we just shut off the camera?
Yeah, that's what I'm
We
thinking.
could do that.
Well, she said it was warmer, and I thought, okay, let's
Well, Dave and I have vests, so we don't care.
Yeah, and then we'll come back and close the meeting. And by the way, when we come back to close the meeting, we will vote on the minutes. I don't think we voted
Oh,
on
they're
the...
already 18 minutes.
go to the minutes either.
Okay, we'll be back in just a sec.
I'll bring these in, I don't think I need